Can one poor boy in a forgotten village really change the whole world? Most people would laugh and say no. But Ayan, with nothing in his pockets except hope, decided to prove them wrong. This is not just his story, it is a story of courage, kindness, and how even the smallest dream can light up the darkest night.
Part 1. The Dream of Ayan. A long time ago, in a small village surrounded by green fields and tall mountains, there lived a boy named Ayan. He was only 12 years old, but his heart was full of big dreams. Ayan was poor, his family had very little money, and sometimes they even slept without food. Still, his eyes always shined with hope. Every morning, Ayan would wake up early. He would walk to the river, wash his face, and then look at the sunrise. The rising sun gave him courage. He would whisper to himself, "One day, I will do something big. One day, I will change the world." But when he said this to others, they laughed at him. The villagers would say, "Ayan, you are just a poor boy. How can you change the world? You cannot even change your own life." Their words hurt him, but he never stopped dreaming. Ayan loved learning. There was only one small school in the village, and it had very few books. But whenever Ayan got a chance, he would sit under the big banyan tree and read. Sometimes, he borrowed books from travelers who passed through the village. He did not understand every word, but he tried his best. One day, his father said to him, "Son, why do you waste time with these books? Go and work in the fields. Our family needs food, not dreams." Ayan looked at his father with respect and said softly, "Baba, I will work in the fields. But I also want to learn. If I study, maybe one day I can help our village." His father shook his head. He did not believe him, but Ayan continued to believe in himself. At night, when the stars filled the sky, Ayan would lie on the ground and think. He would imagine a better world. A world where no child was hungry, where every person could read, where people helped each other instead of fighting. His heart told him that such a world was possible. But he was just one boy in a forgotten village. Could he really make a difference? He did not know the answer, but he promised himself to try. Ayan's best friend was a little girl named Sana. She was also poor, and she could not go to school because her parents could not afford it. One evening, Ayan saw her sitting alone and crying. He asked, "Sana, why are you sad?" She replied, "I want to read and write, but I do not have a teacher. Without learning, I will never leave this village. I will remain poor forever." Ayan felt a fire in his heart. He said, "Don't worry, Sana. I will teach you. I may not know everything, but I know enough to start." So, under the moonlight, near the banyan tree, Ayan began teaching Sana the alphabet. Slowly, other children came. At first 3, then 5, then 10. Every night, Ayan became their little teacher. He felt happy, but he also felt something deeper. For the first time, Ayan understood that changing the world does not always start with big actions. Sometimes, it starts with helping just one person. From that day, his dream became stronger. He knew the road would be long and full of pain. But Ayan whispered to himself again, "I will not give up. I will change the world." Part 2. Struggles and Challenges. As the days passed, Ayan's little night school under the banyan tree became popular. Children from different parts of the village started joining. Some carried broken slates, some had only a small piece of paper, and some brought nothing but their curiosity. Ayan taught them with love and patience. But not everyone was happy. Some elders of the village said, "This boy is wasting his time. He should be working in the fields. Teaching is for real teachers, not for poor children like him." Others laughed. "Does he think he is a great scholar? One day, his dreams will break, and he will see the truth of this world." These words cut Ayan's heart. He was still a child, and sometimes he felt weak. At night, when everyone was asleep, he cried quietly. He asked himself, "Am I really foolish? Can I, a poor boy, truly change the world?" But the next morning, when he saw the smiling faces of the children waiting for him, he felt strong again. He thought, "Even if the whole village laughs at me, I will not stop. These children need me." One evening, while Ayan was teaching, an old traveler came and watched. After the class ended, the traveler walked up to him. He was a wise-looking man with a long beard and kind eyes. He asked, "Young boy, why do you teach these children at night?" Ayan replied with honesty, "Because they have no teacher. Because they also have dreams like me. And if they learn, maybe one day, they will also change the world." The old man smiled and said, "My son, You are already changing the world. Do not think change means building big cities or becoming rich. True change begins when you light the candle of hope in someone else's life. These words stayed in Ian's heart forever. But life was still not easy. His family struggled every day. Sometimes his father grew angry and said, "Stop wasting time. Go and work." His mother worried about food. His clothes were torn and his shoes had holes. One rainy night, the river near the village flooded. Many houses were damaged and people lost their crops. The villagers were afraid and hopeless, but Ian did not lose courage. He gathered the children and said, "We cannot stop the rain, but we can help each other. Let us collect food for those who lost everything." The children agreed. They went door to door, collecting rice, wheat, and clothes. Some families gave little, some gave nothing, but slowly they filled a few bags. Together, they delivered the items to the families who were hungry. An old woman, holding the food in her hands, cried and said, "May God bless you, my child. You are young, but your heart is big." Ian realized something important that day. True leadership is not about power. It is about service. But even after this, the struggles did not end. Some villagers grew jealous. They whispered, "If this boy keeps teaching, soon people will respect him more than us. We must stop him." One night, when Ian went to the banyan tree, he found the small blackboard he used for teaching broken into pieces. The children cried, but Ian stood tall. He told them, "Do not be afraid. They can break our blackboard, but they cannot break our spirit. We will continue learning, even if we have nothing but the sand under our feet." So he drew letters in the soil, and the children repeated after him. Their voices filled the night air like music. Day by day, Ian grew stronger. His struggles were heavy, but each challenge made his dream brighter. He understood that the road to changing the world is never smooth. It is full of stones, but those stones can become steps if one keeps climbing. One night, lying under the stars, he whispered to himself, "I will not stop. I will not give up. The world may laugh at me today, but one day, the world will remember me." And with that promise, Ian closed his eyes and fell asleep, ready for the next battle of life. Part 3. The Teacher's Wisdom. One afternoon, Ian was sitting under the banyan tree, feeling tired. He had been teaching children at night, working in the fields during the day, and dreaming every moment in between. His body was weak, but his spirit was strong. Still, sometimes he wished for guidance. At that moment, a new face entered the village. He was a middle-aged man with gentle eyes, a small bag, and a smile that carried warmth. His name was Master Rahim, a teacher who had once taught in the city but had now retired. He had come to the village to spend the rest of his life in peace. When Master Rahim heard about the boy who taught children under the tree, he became curious. That evening, he walked to the banyan tree and saw Ian surrounded by children, drawing letters in the sand. He watched silently for a while, then clapped softly and said, "Bravo, young boy. You are a teacher even before you have become a man." Ian looked up shyly. "Sir, I am not a real teacher. I just try to help." Master Rahim smiled. "My son, a real teacher is not the one with a certificate, but the one who lights the fire of knowledge. And you have already done that." From that day, Master Rahim became Ian's guide. He taught him not only about reading and writing, but also about life, wisdom, and the meaning of true change. One evening, as the children left, Ian asked his new teacher, "Sir, I always dream of changing the world, but sometimes I feel too small. How can a boy like me make a difference?" Master Rahim looked at him with kindness and replied, "Ian, the world is like a mirror. If you want to see change, you must first change yourself. Be honest, be kind, be brave. If you live with truth and courage, others will follow. And when many hearts change, the world changes." These words touched Ian deeply. He realized that his journey was not only about teaching others, but also about improving himself. Rahim also taught him about patience. "Great things take time, my son. A seed does not become a tree in one day. You must water it, protect it, and wait. Your work today may seem small, but tomorrow it will grow into something mighty." With Rahim's support, Ian's little night school grew stronger. The children learned faster, and even some adults began to join quietly, sitting in the back to learn letters they had never known. But Ian faced another challenge. The village head, Malik Karim, was not happy. He believed education would make villagers question his authority. One day, he called Ian and said harshly, Stop this nonsense. Children should work, not waste time on books. If you continue, you will bring trouble upon yourself and your family. Ayan felt fear in his heart, but Master Rahim encouraged him. Do not bow to fear, Ayan. Remember, the greatest leaders in history were once ordinary people who refused to stay silent. So Ayan continued teaching, even though the threats grew louder. One night, after a long class, Ayan sat with Master Rahim under the stars. He asked, Sir, what does it really mean to change the world? Rahim smiled and said, It means to leave the world better than you found it. Maybe you cannot help everyone, but if you can help even one soul, you have already changed the world for that person. And if you help many, your impact becomes greater. Ayan nodded slowly. Those words filled him with new energy. He promised himself that no matter what happened, he would continue walking this path. And in his heart, a fire burned brighter than ever before. Part 4. Small Acts, Big Changes. With Master Rahim's guidance, Ayan's confidence grew stronger. He no longer felt like just a poor boy. He felt like a seed that could grow into a tall tree, giving shade and fruit to many. One morning, while walking through the village, Ayan noticed something. The streets were dirty, full of plastic bags, old food, and broken pots. Children played there, coughing in the dust, and animals ate from the garbage. Ayan thought to himself, how can we talk about a better world if our own home is dirty? That evening, he gathered the children and said, Tomorrow, we will clean our village. We may be small, but together we can make a big difference. At first, the children were surprised. Cleaning the streets was usually seen as shameful work. But Ayan explained, there is no shame in cleaning. Real shame is to live in dirt and do nothing about it. The next day, with sticks, baskets, and even their bare hands, Ayan and the children began cleaning. They collected garbage, burned the waste safely, and dug a small pit for compost. People watched in silence at first, some even laughed, but slowly a few adults joined them. By the end of the day, the streets looked different, fresh, open, and clean. That night, Ayan stood proudly and said, See, one small action has already changed our world. But he didn't stop there. Another problem in the village was the lack of trees. Summers were hot, and water was drying up. Ayan remembered what Master Rahim once said, If you plant a tree today, you plant hope for tomorrow. So Ayan began collecting seeds and small plants. With the children, he planted them near the school, beside the river, and around the village. Every day, they watered them. At first, villagers thought it was useless. But when the little plants grew into green shoots, giving shade and cool air, people began to respect Ayan's vision. Soon, people started calling him Kodo Ustad, the little teacher. But Ayan knew that education was still the key. He dreamed of a day when every child in the village would read and write. So he went to families and said, Please send your children to study. They can still work in the fields, but give them an hour for learning. Some agreed, some refused, but slowly more children joined his night school. Even girls, who were often kept at home, started coming. This was a big change in the village. One evening, Sana, his first student, came running to him with a paper in her hand. She shouted, Ayan, I wrote my name all by myself. Her eyes shined with pride. Ayan felt tears in his eyes. That small moment was proof that his dream was becoming real. Ayan also began small acts of kindness. If he saw someone hungry, he shared his food. If he saw an old man struggling to carry water, he helped. If two people were fighting, he tried to calm them. Slowly, the villagers began to see him differently. He was no longer just a poor farmer's son. He was becoming a leader, not with power, but with love. But challenges still came. Malik Karim, the village head, grew angry. He called a meeting and said, This boy is making children lazy with books. He is filling their minds with nonsense. If this continues, our traditions will break. Many elders agreed with him. They shouted that Ayan should stop teaching. Ayan stood in the middle of the crowd, his hands shaking, but his voice firm. He said, Respected elders, I do not teach children to disrespect you. I teach them so they can read letters, count numbers, and dream of a better future. If knowledge is a crime, then I am guilty. But I will not stop, because education is light, and I cannot let my people live in darkness. The villagers murmured. Some supported Ayan, others stayed silent. Malik Karim warned, You will regret this, boy. But Ayan only bowed his head respectfully and walked away. Inside, he was scared. But he remembered Master Rahim's words. Bravery is not the absence of fear, but standing tall even when you are afraid. Days turned into weeks. The trees grew taller, the streets stayed cleaner, and more children came to study. The small actions were becoming a movement. One night, Master Rahim looked at Ayan and said proudly, "My son, you once asked me how to change the world. Look around you. You have already started." Ayan smiled, but deep inside he knew this was only the beginning. His dream was much bigger. He wanted not just one village, but the whole world to rise with education, kindness, and courage. And so, with every small act, Ayan's fire grew brighter, lighting up not only his path, but also the path of those around him. Part 5. A Dream Beyond the Village. Years passed. Ayan was no longer the little boy who whispered dreams under the stars. He had grown into a young man, strong in body, wiser in mind, and braver in heart. Yet, his spirit was the same. He still believed in changing the world. The village had changed too. The once dirty streets were now cleaner. Trees grew tall, giving shade where children played. More boys and girls could read and write, thanks to the night school. People had begun to respect Ayan, calling him not just Kodo Ustad, but Hamaro Ustad, our teacher. But Ayan knew his mission was not complete. One evening, he told Master Rahim, "Sir, our village is better now. But what about the next village? What about the towns, the cities, the world? There are still millions of children who cannot read. Millions who are hungry. Millions who feel hopeless. How can I reach them?" Rahim placed a gentle hand on his shoulder and said, "My son, the fire you have started here will not die. When one candle burns, it lights another. The children you taught will grow, they will teach others. And slowly your dream will spread. You do not need to reach the whole world alone. The world will change because you inspired it to change." Those words gave Ayan peace, but also a new purpose. He decided to travel beyond his village. With a small bag and a heart full of courage, he began visiting nearby villages. In each place, he gathered children under trees, in fields, near rivers, anywhere he could, and taught them the basics of reading and writing. He told them stories of hope, kindness, and courage. At first, people doubted him. They said, "You are just a village boy. What can you teach us?" But when they saw the children learning, their doubt turned into respect. Everywhere he went, Ayan planted not only seeds of trees, but also seeds of change. He taught villagers how to keep their surroundings clean, how to share food with the hungry, how to solve conflicts with peace instead of anger. Soon, word about him began to spread. Travelers carried his story from one place to another. "There is a young man," they said, "who teaches for free, who plants trees, who believes that even one person can change the world." Years later, Ayan's name reached the cities. Journalists wrote about him. People from faraway lands came to see his work. Some offered him money, but he always replied, "I do not want wealth. My true reward is to see a child holding a book, a family sharing food, a village full of trees." One day, standing before a large crowd in a town, Ayan gave a speech. His voice was calm but powerful. He said, "My friends, changing the world does not mean waiting for leaders, kings, or governments. It means starting with ourselves. Clean your street. Plant a tree. Teach a child. Feed the hungry. Speak the truth. Love your neighbor. These are small actions, but together, they can move mountains. I was once just a poor boy in a forgotten village. People laughed at me, but I did not give up. If I can do it, so can you. Each of you has the power to change the world." The crowd cheered, and many wept. In that moment, Ayan was no longer just a boy with a dream. He was a leader of hope, an example for humanity. Years turned into decades. Ayan grew older, his hair turned white, but his spirit never faded. The children he once taught became teachers, doctors, farmers, and leaders. Villages and towns across the land carried his message forward. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Ayan sat under the same banyan tree where it all began. Children played around, their laughter filling the air. Sana, now grown into a teacher herself, sat beside him. She said softly, "Ayan, look around. You once promised to change the world. And you did." Ayan smiled, his eyes full of peace. He whispered, "No, Sana, I did not change the world alone. We all did, together. One dream, one step, one small act at a time." As the stars appeared in the sky, Ayan closed his eyes, not with sadness, but with fulfillment. His dream had become a reality, proving that even one person, no matter how poor or small, can light a fire bright enough to change the whole world.
Ayan once was just a poor boy with a dream. Today, his small acts of courage and kindness have inspired countless hearts. His story proves one simple truth. You do not need to be powerful to change the world. You just need the courage to start. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment your thoughts below.